Welcome to Virtual Concert Hall's live programs. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jennifer Savage, and I'll be your host for today's show. And we are excited to be presenting our 7th episode of Jack Price is Right. And today, we'll be exploring the topic of practice as it relates to our lives, our experiences, anywhere from the lens of musician, artist, manager, performer, and all the way down to eye level of the crude and unfiltered human being. Does practice make perfect? Does perfect practice make perfect? In all things? Find out here. There is no one-size-fits-all answer, and this could leave you with more questions than simple answers, but it's more real that way, and that's what we're here for. Welcome again to the Jack Price is Right live show, and just to show you what we're about, here's a little preview that we've prepared for you just to recap our last episode on preparation. Preparation. Do we really need it?
Okay. Preparation is not necessary. That's a joke, by the way. Yeah.
Preparation. Do we need it?
Look, life's hard, just be prepared for it. Yeah, that's the right one. There you go. I happen to be one of those people that never prepares anything. That's why
we
I know
very
so
well that, yeah.
Yes, and that's why I know so much about this subject. I'm the king of non-preparation. I was prepared for that.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, good.
I was prepared.
I felt that.
Door number one. Yeah.
Door number one is, do we need it? And door
I had
number
to say
two
that. I just pretty good. You can only take chances after you've prepared something. That I think most musicians alive today play the same, and the reason why is because they don't take chances. The worst offense in life is to be boring. He goes, yeah, you're just exactly the kind of soloist I like. Well, I don't choose the soloist, the executive director does, or the artistic director. That is not the way to go. Okay.
No.
I used to be a diver, actually, believe it or not. And she also sleeps with rats. But, that's good. Yeah. Beautifully said. Very good said. I love offending people because it gets things done. That's why I'm doing this show. I can just do whatever I want, But anyway, so, what are we listening to? Prepare and go wild. That's the greatest compliment you can say about a performer is he or she makes the listener an active participant in their art. It's not enough to play your instrument. You need to perform. Well, this process to me is you got about 15 seconds. And do we need preparation? Yes.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I hate practicing. I like performing. Okay. Yeah. Not a bad idea, I guess. Oh, this is going to be super even here. So it's not the quantity, it's the quality of the preparation. Okay. You graduate from music school, you graduate from art school, and then you go, what do I do now? That's because you're not prepared. So you hope for success, prepare for failure. You can't go wrong. Pretty close, right? So there you go.
Pretty good.
I love that. I never get tired of it. It's just so weird.
And that was our last episode on preparation. I just want to say welcome to Jack Price is Right. I'm your host, Jennifer Savage. It's great to be here. And today, I am excited to be joined live with my co-host and celebrated partner in crime, Dikron Atamian, otherwise known as Jack Price. And just to give a little introduction, formerly known as Dikron Atamian and now known as Jack Price, he began his career in artist management in response to his own career as an RCA recording artist after winning first place in the 50th anniversary of the Naumburg competitions, as well as he is known as the crazy pianist who premiered the Right for solo piano. Welcome to the show, Jack Price.
These previews.
Everybody's clapping for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a stand-up routine. This
Yeah.
this show. When Kiki goes back and puts that anthology together, I'm just thinking we're in the wrong business. Absolutely in the wrong business.
Yeah.
That's fun. Gotta
Yeah.
say, if you can't
Yeah,
laugh,
Kiki's
like
going
I said
wild
last time.
back there.
Kiki's gone wild. It's like that video, Gone Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kiki's gone wild. So anyway, practice.
Let's get right into it. So our topic for today is practice. And what are you talking about because we have 2 episodes. We had one on preparation and then now we have practice.
No,
what are
it's
you
not the same.
Yeah, what is the distinction?
They're well, I mean they can be analogous, but they're almost diametrically opposed because of what my previous statement in the last show is that most of your preparation should be mental and away from your activity to relate to other disciplines in the world. For example, being a lawyer or a doctor. You're not going to learn anything by being thrown right into an open heart surgery right now. You're not going to have any breakthroughs by, that ventricle, that blood vessel. You've got to
thrown into the pot. Yeah.
This has got to be done all before at the piano, the violin, whatever, on the plane, in the shower. We've talked about it. You can't do it at the instrument. You can't prepare at the instrument, but what you can do at the instrument is practice. And the word practice is such a misnomer in a lot of ways. I mean, are we talking about medical practice, or are we talking about a practice having a studio of 30, students?
Yeah.
Are we talking about playing the piano or practicing the violin or the cello?
Well,
and what do you do? What do you even do during there?
Okay.
No, you can't prepare at the instrument.
You can't prepare at the instrument?
There's absolutely, it's all done before. It's like the guy at Carnegie Hall says, how come you invite people in your dressing room, which I used to do, and joke around before you walk on to the platform? And I go, it's too late for anything else. We might as well have fun. I mean, what is this? Oh, I've got to prepare my mind, and I need some silence. Now, I don't want silence. I want raucous activity. I mean, not to get my mind off, let's say, the opening piece, but the practice of practice is to do it beforehand, not while you're doing. Although then the other thing is I used to change fingerings in the middle of a performance, like constantly, because I was looking for a different sound. Oh yeah, it's very tricky. And, people were just horrified when I told them after. They said, what? I mean, I said, it's like my friend Phil Kaywin used to say, well, fingerings are everything, without fingerings, you don't have anything,
That's an impression.
That's my impression of Phil Kaywin. Yeah. A poor guy. He passed away this year. He's a really good friend of mine, and not this year, last year, one of those years. Anyway, but we were buddies, and we would talk about breakthroughs and stuff. And he was so hung up on fingerings. I said, why don't you do a treatise on fingerings? Because then your practice will be a lot better, right? And I'm not of that persuasion, actually. I don't really give a hoot about fingerings. I know people that pencil in every finger on every note, even when they're playing a hymn. It's like, but yeah.
But you don't really believe in, Sorry, yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Seth.
No, just, so you don't really believe in getting into the mode right before walking on stage, something like that.
It's too late.
It's too late.
It's way too late. Okay, look, the mode, getting into the mood and the framework of
the focus.
The focus, we can use all these fabulous words. That's done somewhere else besides by the red payphone at the back of Carnegie Hall. You know that little payphone?
Right.
I mean, they used to have a payphone there anyway. Yeah, I mean, that's where you call your parents and say, hey, or something. It's like, that's not the time for breakthroughs or preparation or, oh my gosh, what do I do here? You just throw it to the wind at that point. Come on, just throw it out there, fling it out there like a burst of powerhouse pianism, right? As a critic used to say. Yeah, practice. I like what you said in the beginning. You quote my old friend Leon Fleischer, who told me, and he's told other people, he said, no, practice doesn't make perfect, and the way to Carnegie Hall is not practice, practice, practice. The way to Carnegie Hall is perfect anything is perfect practice. So perfect practice makes perfect. Now let's analyze that. First of all, what is perfect practice?
Let's see what's behind door number 1, which is only perfect practice makes perfect.
Only
what do you
perfect
think about
practice
that?
makes perfect. Well, I'll tell you what I think. It's very simple. First
tell me what you really think.
Tell me what you really think. First of all, you've got to decide what practicing is. Is practicing your mistakes into your pieces? Because that's rote, and that's doing the same thing over and over, and that's the definition of insanity, is to do something over and over and think you're getting a different result. Oh, it's like, I'll tell you a great joke. This is perfect. There was a guy like Alexander Uninsky, who was giving a master class in Dallas. I don't know if you heard of him, but he's quite a character. He's dead now. And so there was this very beautiful young girl playing the Appassionata for him. And she got to the diminished chord right before the last movement, where it's like this. That thing, this is the chord, I think.
Yeah.
I forgot. I haven't played the piece in ages. Yeah. Anyway, so she gets to the chord and she goes like this. Or something like that. And he goes, well, can you play that a little further? And so she goes. And he goes, better? Better? And then she goes. And he goes, perfect.
Right.
This guy was a riot. You talk about practice. You do the same thing over and over and you get the same result. That's like a really ultra radical expression of doing the same thing over and over and getting the same result, not a different result. But the point is, what do you do to get a different result? I will tell you. It's what I always told whatever students I had. I didn't have many at Michigan and a few other places, but not, mostly private or masterclass situation. I say, listen, a great teacher is not a person you emulate. A great teacher teaches you how to think correctly on your own. A great teacher does not want you to emulate them. A great teacher wants to instill in you a process, an approach to the keyboard, to the fingerboard, to the cello, whatever it is. I'm using piano simply because, well, we have a piano.
That's what.
Okay, so
that's what we got.
The thing is, technique is not facility. So this enters into practice. You're not going to practice your facility. You're going to practice your approach to the instrument, and it has to be very succinct. It has to be exactly what you want it to be. So, well, we've done this before, so you can repeat the act. Okay? If you do not know exactly what you're doing, you can't repeat it. It's like you're going to go, "Oh, I had a good night last night. It was really on." And I go, "Really?"
But it's all kind of up to chance
pretty bad actually. Yeah, not pretty good, pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
There is no such thing as a good night or an on night. That is nothing but pure luck and what you call a random act. You have to have it organized. Okay, for example, when you practice something like this. did you see what I did or heard what I did? Well, first of all, most people don't listen. They listen sort of, this
Surface
milky
level.
kind. Yeah, it's not real detailed
like-
listening. First of all, first lesson in practice, listen to yourself while you're playing. For the tape from the concert of the Prokofiev Third 3 months later, oh wow, it was actually pretty good. I thought I really screwed that up. That doesn't do you any good. That doesn't do you any good except for self-grandizement or self-deprecation. Deprecation or grandizement, whatever it is you're into, don't get into it. Do it at the time you're practicing. Listen to what you're doing. For example, I've said it before, move the quick notes, hold the long notes. See?
Yeah.
So the A then falls off. You tag it with the F and the C.
For a lot of people, it's difficult to listen to themselves while they're playing. They're so caught up in the notes. They're so in between everything that they can't even spare that moment in their
it's
heads
like my friend
that
Rico
headspace.
Saccani said, get out of the score. I mean, it's too late.
Yeah.
Have it all memorized. And this guy memorizes everything. I mean, everything is memorized. And he, on the podium, he looks like a magician. It's the most incredible thing because he's prepared and he has that impromptu inside of him. He has that moment, the
Right.
throw it to the wind. And that's when all the magic happens, when you're prepared. So in your practice, you want to be not just methodical, but actually do it the way you're going to do it in the performance. It's one thing to isolate a technical passage. It's another thing to play it the way you're going to play it in the performance. Okay? If you go something like this. Sorry. So what are you going to do there? The practice is, for me, is to have the hands into the fall board and the thumb at 10 o'clock. Now, is that specific enough for you? So in other words, when I go to that A, I have to be at 10 o'clock. You see 10 o'clock right there? Yeah, and then I go up and hit the black note and change my direction slightly to get off the C sharp into the C. So, right there.
Yeah.
But what magic happens is you figure out, oh, I don't have to move there. See what I just did? In other words, I went here, and then the third finger just moved over laterally from the C sharp. I didn't lift my hand. I didn't throw it in. It's all economy of motion.
Most efficient route between movements.
And the most efficient route is a typewriter carriage. Go like this, back and forth. Never like this, just back and
hovering.
forth. Absolutely. The thumb should never move. This. My thumb is always at 10 o'clock. That's what I've discovered. That's what I've discovered that I do naturally. So, like Bolette would say, oh, that's just natural. No, it's not.
But what do you mean by 10 o'clock? So it's like, how do you picture that?
Like the clock, your thumb is right at 10 o'clock. See, not there. It's at 10 o'clock.
The angle, it's the angle of the thumb is as if it's on the clock and, pointing to 10 o'clock.
The Atamian angle, okay?
Yeah.
That's what I call them. The Atamian angle is 10 o'clock. It's like a 45-degree angle. This is, in my opinion, and we all know how humble I am, we have to have the hand sort of like a triangle. I think of triangular diplomacy, which makes me think of Nixon all the time. Yeah. How do you satisfy all three parts of the triangle, the tip? So you got Russia and China down here, and you got the U.S. up here, and you can make better deals with both of them by putting them together.
Right. Okay.
You see, it's
Put
better
the
than
angle together.
It's better than
it's
the
strong.
U.S. It's better than the U.S. dealing with China alone and the U.S. dealing with Russia alone. But if they're in a triangle together, you see what I mean? You get simpatico. Okay, so that's the idea. Triangle, and I have found that the triangle is quite prevalent in our society. It's like a pattern. We talked about patterns.
Yeah, patterns that we recognize everywhere.
Yeah, the pyramid. Listen, the Egyptians had it all together, man. That ancient civilization was more advanced than ours is now. We think we're so advanced. We're not. I mean, they built those things, with the stars and the whole deal. If you ever got inside of an Egyptian's mind, which we can't anymore because they're all mummified, right? But if you could, you would discover something really fantastic.
Ancient Egyptian. Yeah.
Ancient, not current Egyptians. Yes, no.
Right.
But you can go to Cairo, and for like $30 you can eat all week. It's pretty cheap,
Okay. Yeah. Well, so moving on then.
That's another kind of practice.
Let's move on to see what's behind door number 2.
Okay, door number 2. Yes.
Yeah. Can one make up for lack of talent with practice?
No. But you have to, like one person just said, I believe today, define talent. So, say that phrase again. Say it again.
So can one make up for lack of talent with practice? Is that possible?
It's not possible, but talent is not what you think it is, in my opinion. Once again, we have a very
the first thing to get out of the way,
show, don't we? First thing to get out of the way, to me.
How do you define talent? Right.
I define talent this way. The person who can take the empirical data, meaning feedback, meaning a teacher, meaning an experience, and then spit it out and implement it, make it their own, that's talent. Nothing is original. Basically, it's all been done before. It's how you say it. It's not what you're saying. What you're saying has been said over and over. It's the style, it's the attitude, it's the mindset, and it's how it comes out. Like I'm talking right now. Have you ever heard anyone sound like this lunatic? No. You've never heard anyone sound like me because it's original. It's different. I say it my way. You say it your way, blah, blah, blah. And, everybody has just a honky-dory time. But the point is, you can't just go, well, I practice my Chopin etudes every day. And you hold your hands like this, And, I mean, come on. Is this dial a joke or which, mule you want to speak to? Anyway,
you're saying
the whole idea behind practice is to not practice your mistakes into your playing. The idea of practice is to implement what you've already thought of while you were just driving your car. Like I'm driving and I go, oh my gosh, I forgot that. And I'm actually feeling that moment. This goes on, even though I haven't played in 18 years, I'm constantly playing in my head.
Is that part of talent? Because you're saying talent is taking in information and then implementing it in your own way.
Well, of course. Of course. If you go to a fabulous performance of Rock 2, that is an amalgamation of that person's experience in music and with that piece, and perhaps with some influence of other recordings and other live perform. It's all together. What is her name? Hillary said it takes a village, right? Okay, so it takes a village of ideas and experiences and emotions to really make a performance. It's not just Rock 2, it's everything. So the practice...
time matters for that. How does time factor in that? I mean, some people might say talent would be if you have the ability to take in that information quicker than others. I mean, maybe everyone can reach that point if they had enough time, but some can just do it faster than others. How does time factor into that?
The time paradigm is not what people think it is. It's not...
You're reminding me what's behind door number 3. Does the time paradigm matter in practice?
It does. You should do less. is more. Okay, look, there's a guy that goes around, I'm not going to say who it is, he goes, well, if you practice more than 4 hours, you're a lunatic or you're untalented. Or, if you put a quarter on your hand here, like
Right.
Rachmaninoff says, and if it falls off, you're a loser. Okay, well,
Right.
Rachmaninoff's full of it. Okay, so I know lots of people with small hands that can play their butts off, and I know people with huge hands that can't even get their fingers between the black notes, and there's no everybody figures out their own way, but there are some axioms that I have found, rules of the road that really apply to people. I was giving a master class in Memphis once at the Steinway Hall before I played with the orchestra, and some girl played Prokofiev No. 2 Sonata, and I was able to make her play better in literally 20 seconds by telling her one thing. That's what you want to be able to do as a teacher, is to improve your student, not sit there and lecture to them and then at the end go, well, what are you going to bring me next week?
Right.
I know a teacher like that. Okay, so, all this pontificating and intimidation.
Yeah. All this, well, it looks like we may have lost Richie for a second here, but we are on the topic of practice right now, and we're talking about how time relates to that practice. And let's pivot here with a little bit of a clip we'd like to show, just to switch things up a little bit here. And stay tuned right here on Jack Price is Right, and we'll get back to the topic of practice. And that was the Beethoven Piano Concerto No. 3, as performed by Dikran Atamian. And I just want to take a moment here to mention that we are live every Friday. Usually today's a bit of an anomaly with Jack Price is Right. We've got so many hard-hitting and far-reaching topics, starting with our premiere, which we discussed truth. And then we went on to discuss faith, falsehoods, preparation, and so many things that relates both to our lives, our general lives, and our lives as musicians. And there's so many more coming up, almost at least 7 topics coming up for these next, this season and the next. And so don't miss out. Coming up, this is our next episode. We have a little preview we'd like to show you of the next topic on competition. A necessary evil? Is it a necessary evil? And does it breed excellence? So some food for thought there. You can check us out on our YouTube channel at virtualconcerthalls.com. We're also on Twitch, LinkedIn, Alignable, on all the major streaming platforms, and you can find out more right there on virtualconcerthalls.com, as well as priceattractions.com. And we would love to hear more from you. We've got some great comments throughout the shows. Many people had their take on what was truth and what are falsehoods to you. And you know, we're just providing some of our perspectives and some of Jack Price's perspectives. But if anything resonates with you, feel free to jump in with us, because we're all in this together and we're all trying to figure it out from one another. And but back to what we were saying right before the drop off here, Richie and I, we were discussing what was behind the third door.
Yeah, the paradigm.
Does the time paradigm matter in practice?
Yeah, it does, but it does.
Like we said, many people, if they have given enough time, maybe they can reach the same level. That's what talent brings. Does talent accelerate that process?
What I'm about to say about paradigms in time, it's similar to where the dinosaurs are around billions of years ago, or was it just thousands? There's a show called Is Genesis History? That I urge everybody to watch. They use the Grand Canyon and all of its layered rock and all of that to prove to scientists, scientists prove that the time paradigm is totally off, that the dinosaurs did not live billions and millions of years ago, but thousands of years ago, and that humans, the beginning of humanity was much more recent than anyone thinks, and it's very convincing. Now, I'm not saying I agree with it, and I'm not saying it's true, but it is really something
interesting
to
think about.
It's very interesting, because I've always had a problem with time paradigms. Now, taking the dinosaurs and humans and all that, Cro-Magnon man and all that, and put it into piano playing, here's the deal. One should not spend, you can quote me on this, I don't believe one should not spend very much time at the instrument. They should spend very much time thinking about it, thinking about what they're about to do. On a plane, for example, I found that most of my work when I was touring, I would just constantly be thinking, okay, that angle, this, whatever. That's the way to do it. If you get to the piano, man, it's you start getting nervous. You go, oh, what was I thinking? It's got to be natural. In other words, when you get to the instrument, you should have done it. You should have done it many, many times in your mind to the point where it is rote, that you can count on it. That if you put your hand down in a certain way, that you can count on it. Like if you're going to something like Ondine.
Yeah.
This. So how do you do something that complicated?
Yeah.
Actually, we make it too complicated. It's quite simple.
Do we overthink that?
Well, first of all, has anybody ever thought that this is sort of a jazz figure? So you go. If you divide it up there like that.
Yeah.
It's not just da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You have pit stops in there of thought. You can stop on a certain group in your mind. You go to that pit stop. It's not that you stop when you're playing, but you go to that place and you a split second pause in your mind and then go on. But if you think it of it, da 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 da, that's the pattern. And then da 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 da. It's not
You get
quite
caught
the
up
same.
in every note, and then that backs up everything rather than
But
having some pit stops that you aim for.
yeah, and in your practice, now this is when you practice not thinking of it before. You should think of how you're going to play it physically. Where are you going to use when you start? And this one. See, when you go up for that high F, you're not going to go da 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 da. You're going to slow it down because of what you're doing. And all of that comes in your. How do you actually execute that retard and go back to tempo? A tempo from not a tempo. You've got to figure out in your mind exactly what you're doing. And I contend in this figure, it's much the same. The hand has to be like this, see? Like this, like a triangle. But then you say, oh, Richie, you just moved to the left and now it looks like you're going that way. Meaning like...
You're saying that the triangle, Atamian angles between, or are you talking about where is the triangle?
I'm talking about the angle of descent. Where do
okay.
It's 10 o'clock. See, the thumb is still at 10 o'clock, but even if I move my head this way...
Okay, it looks like we may have lost Richie while he's talking about the Atamian angles, but I think what he's trying to say here is that the thumb is positioned at a 10 o'clock angle. If you're picturing your hand like it's a clock and the thumb is one of the hands, but then he's also elaborating on another triangle in there. And he can correct me if I'm wrong, but from the side angle, it's as if you're also building a triangle with a high hand position. But moving on here, let's we have another clip we like to show while we're waiting for Richie. But this should be the Chopin Ballade as performed by Dikran Atamian, and enjoy that and stay tuned right here on Jack Price is Right.
Chopin's Ballade No. 3 in A-flat major, Opus 47.
So that was another clip that we had right here on the Jack Price is Right archives, and I hope it could also bring to you guys another example of what Jack Price is talking about when he's talking about the Atamian angles, the positioning of the hands, and some of these are sort of tools that you can use, like Richie was talking about, where it gives you something to think about while you're playing, and rather than getting caught up in every note. And I'd like to welcome Jack Price back onto stage here, and we'll finish up what we're talking about with the angles of the triangles. Mm-hmm. Because you're not just talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not just talking about the angles of the two hands forming a triangle, but you're also talking about the angle at which you create a triangle of the hand position hovering.
I was
just
right?
using,
that is correct. It's not just the triangle. I was using the triangle as an example of what the hands should look like to you visually when you're looking at the keyboard. They should,
the pianist's point of view.
They should always be like this if you're straight on, or if you're leaning this way, the same way this way, or this way, or if you're leaning over here to catch some passage down in the bass. The body, the torso, has to be behind every note. This idea that we play the piano with our fingers is absolute nonsense. We play the piano with our body or the violin. The fingers just actually, it's like enunciating thing. The fingers are the thing that depress the key only, but they're not what does the work. The body does the work. If your body isn't behind a hard passage or getting out of the way of a hard passage, for example, like this. See, I'm leaning. I'm leaning to the. Now I'm going to the left for the bass. It's just the nature of the piece. In other words, you can go to the left, you can go to the right, you can stay in the middle. But what I was trying to say is the hand and the thumb especially has to be in the same position all the time. Otherwise, it's really going to screw you up. 10 o'clock is basically it. Now, I do know I came across in my work a couple of passages that go against that. These are what I would call exceptions, and they're very rare exceptions. Okay, and I can't think of one right now, but I mean, basically, I think of playing very much into the fall board, right in there, because it's the most direct line between point A and B. If you come out of the keyboard out here, then you're not going directly. See, I would start there. If you start a scale or you started in. Everything's in, and then you might come out because of the contour of the keys or the topography, but you're always starting and trying to return to the fall board because it's the closest point, I should say, distance between A and B. And if you're going from A and B, let's say, that's A and B. This is A and that's B. So, did you see what I just did? Right. So I was in here, then I came out to do this. And then,
you
I went back in.
In and out.
Now I'm in. Still in, now out. In.
Yeah.
I always return to the in, okay?
Yeah.
It's the most relaxed. It keeps the arm at 180 degree angle instead of this
the arm at
constant
180
90 degree cramping. Yeah, most people cramp their style by hovering over the keyboard like this. So you would see them like this. See the elbow? It's 90 degrees.
Yeah.
No good. You're cutting off your control. You're cutting off everything when you're at 90 degrees. Like that's what I've discovered.
You're cutting off the rest of the body's involvement. Yeah, the rest of the body's involvement is cut off right there if you do 90 degrees.
Yeah, if you look at Brahms, that picture of him like this, crossing hands, and he's sitting way back like this. You know, he's real fat, and
Yeah.
that because he's not. And his thumb is totally at 10 o'clock. Now, the left-hand thumb's not at 10 o'clock. It's at 2 o'clock. The right-hand thumb's at 10 o'clock. So, but he's crossed like this, and his arms are totally straight in this picture, and he's smoking a cigar. I mean, it's so natural for him that he's doing three things at one time. He's smoking a cigar and practicing, and he knows exactly what he's doing, and it's the most perfect angle. Brahms must have known what he was doing. Now, whether he was a wonderful pianist or not, I don't know, because just because you know what you're doing, that doesn't make you a great pianist. I mean, people have fingers, people don't have fingers, people have facility, people have ideas. You know, they're not all, you know. So Brahms might have been an okay pianist, but he knew the most direct play in town, and that is fallboard action and sit back. That's the whole idea, is that makes practice. In other words, even if you don't agree with me about sitting back or going to the fallboard, at least it's an approach, and it works for me. So it might work for some. A lot of people have been helped by it that I know, but some people might say, well, my body's different, and I want to play like this. You know, okay. Well, you know, it's possible.
Right.
I don't suggest it, but it is possible. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, you know, it's not. It's totally impossible to play up, shoved up into the piano. And they might say this. They might say, well, I'm in the fallboard, and I said, yeah, so is your ass. You know. So I mean, the point is, you have to divorce the hand from the torso in order to get the torso to back up the hand. You can't be all smushed up to the piano. At least that this is what I've discovered.
Discovered, yeah.
So practice makes perfect. Leon Fleischer said, practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And what he means, you know, he had an arm problem and stuff like that, right? So he had to figure out, and I'm not sure he had it covered, but the point is, he had to figure out an approach to the keyboard that made it consistent for him every time. You know, people say, oh, it was a bad piano. I was really off. You know, well, there's only one way to play an instrument, and that's the right way for you. Okay? So this is one approach
that you've discovered after so long of the angles, and it's something that it's an approach that has worked for a lot of people, but it's not the end all be all, and someone may find it useful, and then some,
They may, but I must say I've spent a lifetime. This has been my work. Besides, man, I'm into breakthroughs, as you know, and finding the simplest way to do something. I don't want to exert any more effort than I have to. And in my youth, I did just that. There was so much body stuff in my playing. I wanted to get that out so I could just concentrate on what I really need to concentrate on, which is where am I going on the keyboard. And so I found that this is the most economical way to play. But that's not what this lesson is about. See, what I'm teaching here is an approach, and that's perfect practice. The approach has to be perfect for you. But if you just keep going, you know, like over and over. I know this pianist. That'll remain nameless. That says, practice that Prokofiev 6 and beat the living hell out of every note, super slow, over and over, like 12 hours of it, and man, you won't believe how great it's going to be on stage.
Right.
No,
Okay.
you have to figure out it has to go this.
Right.
Where's that thumb going? You see?
Yeah.
That
Okay.
it's not just doing it over and over.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
so
trying.
this has been really fascinating figuring out how you've come to arrive at something that has worked for you and a lot of people that you've showed in master classes. But I do think we are a bit out of time here for practice.
Okay.
Hate to cut you off here. We're on a roll, but I'm sure there's a lot more specifics of how approaches, like very specific approaches, that we can keep in mind while we're practicing, and approaches, not just specific approaches of our physical motions or movements, but also ways of thinking while we're
Right.
at the instrument or away from the instrument.
And
can
don't
help
forget,
us.
every passage is different. Every piece is different. Almost every second of every piece everything's changing all the time.
Every situation is unique there.
So you have to find a way to play that kind of applies to all of those situations. You can't just change everything every second of the day. That's not
Right.
really, the brain doesn't work that way. The
You'll
brain
get
needs
bogged down by the details.
I mean, there are millions of details, but the thing is, you
Right.
can find one way or two ways of making the body and the mind get together. So, oh yeah, I agree
Right.
with that. Your mind says, yes, I like what the fingers are doing. I'm going to do that for the most part. That doesn't mean there aren't any exceptions. So there are
Right.
a lot of exceptions, actually.
There's
but
always
they-
exceptions.
Yeah, there always
Yeah.
are exceptions, but you have to have an approach. If you don't have an
Yep.
approach, you're dead.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Richie, for being with us. It's been great having you on, and I'm sure we'll delve even further into this topic of practice. I mean, it's such a far-reaching topic, and there's so
We'll
many
have
things that
100
we can get into there. So, thank you so
we'll
much for
do
being here.
seven.
With that, the time is right, and I think we have got to go here. I would just like also to take 1 second here to thank all of our partners and our sponsors. We have so many collaborators that have supported us from day one. We keep adding more and more sponsors and partners that are really along with us for the journey. You can see all of them up here, whether it's recording studios, schools, conservatories, orchestras. They all make up this big family that are here together with us to support. And I also do want to make a little shout out to our production team. Today's broadcast was powered by Christian Pelagi, directing behind the scenes, making everything go smoothly, and couldn't have done it without any of you, our partners, our sponsors, our production team. Very grateful. So thank you so much for being with us. And I think that's all we've got for today. This has been Jack Price is Right. I am your host, Jennifer Savage. And I hope you've gotten a little something out of this. I know I did. See you next week. Bye-bye.